School is back in session, and summer really truly is winding down. Harvest is starting to become under the way. A lot of people are getting ready to hit the fields. And joining us today, we have Shannon Latham. Shannon, so many things are taking place. Latham is a busy, busy hopping place. What do we have on track for this week for our farmers and our listeners?
Well, this week at Latham headquarters in Alexander in north central Iowa, we'll be hosting our annual Fall Field Day. It's going to start Friday with the first field presentations at 8:30. And we're really excited because right after lunch, Chad Colby is going to be doing a drone demonstration, and we will be awarding one lucky attendee of a drone of their very own.
A drone of their very own just by attending the Latham event this weekend. And again, where and when do we find this event?
The event will be held Friday, August 28th in Alexander, Iowa. And Alexander's in north central Iowa, just about 25 minutes south of Clear Lake on Interstate 35. The day will get underway at 8:30 with the first field presentation, and then we will be wrapping up right after lunch.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a day packed full of information going into the harvest season for all of the farmers.
It sure should be. There's been a lot of interest lately in some weed management, and so we'll be featuring some of our Liberty Link products. They did a great job in 2004, several of them topping yield trials, and also taking a look at some of our ironclad soybeans. Ironclad is exclusive to Latham, and they feature the most defensive package you can put together, which will be of interest to some folks because we're really starting to see white mold and sudden death symptoms out there right about now.
Well, let's talk a little bit about harvest season, Shannon. Obviously, they want to have their equipment ready and be ready to roll, but any other advice you have for our farmers at this time?
I think a lot of people are out there right now taking a look at their fields, assessing the situation, seeing if there might be stock rot or some stock integrity issues they need to be aware of. The more pre-planning you can do now, it certainly helps ease that anxiety as the season draws near. But, everyone wants to do what they can to get as much yield, and that could very well be taking some of those fields first so that you can get more grain in the hopper and fewer kernels on the ground.
Well, Shannon, one thing I always love to mention is safety on the farm, not only for our farmers, but for all of our listeners. Any advice on that?
Absolutely. I think in rural areas, I find myself being very spoiled because I'm not used to having a lot of traffic. I'm not used to having to slow down. When I head to work in the morning, I can set my cruise at 55. But at this time of year, we really need to allow a little extra travel time. You never know when you're going to get behind a piece of farm equipment that's moving and things like that. So just build that time in and just practice a little bit of patience. When we have to slow down those few seconds to wait when it's safe to pass, it's no different than our city friends who have to stop at stoplights, throughout their morning commute. So I think just factoring in a little bit extra time into your morning commute, practicing patience, and the season will be safer for all of us. And, another thing that you had mentioned, Liz, is the fact that a lot of schools are back in session. So I think we also need to remember to be aware, watch out for those school buses along the way as well.
Yeah, we need to be slowing down and making sure that we're paying attention when the kids are getting off the school buses and which way they're going. We really need to be on the lookout for them. And another thing we need to be looking out for, I guess, or paying attention to is the corners, the intersections. Our farmers haven't gotten the combines in the fields to be able to pull that product out yet. So we need to be stopping at those intersections, not just blowing through.
That's true. It's always better to be safe than sorry. And also at this time of year, that sun's really a factor, too.
Well, another factor, Shannon, that we need to look for as far as safety is taking care of ourselves during this harvest season.
Corey Catt is Latham's forage product manager, but he's also an EMT. And he reminds us that just like football players and other athletes need to make sure they're eating properly and drinking enough liquids, it's also true for farmers because they're working long, hard hours. And, when we're all focused on that goal or focusing on what we want to get done for that day, sometimes we literally forget to stop and take a break. So it's important that we remember to drink and eat properly, whether that means packing some, snacks, high energy, high protein, fruits, vegetables, things like that, things you might not necessarily think of to stick in your cab, but it certainly will go a long way in giving you that energy you need to put in a full day's work.
Well, and Shannon, one thing that can happen so quickly too, we hear so many stories of heart attacks that happen while the guys are out working. What do we need to know to help keep a protective eye on our friends and families as harvest season rolls through?
That's a great point. In fact, recently one of our Latham regional sales managers was visiting a customer, and he actually recognized those signs of heart attack. And so he was able to help get the attention needed for that farmer. But, just some common symptoms are chest pain, jaw pain, shortness of breath, dizziness, and even extreme fatigue. We might tell ourselves, oh, I've just been working long and hard, but really we need to think, am I more tired than normal? Is my body trying to tell me something? Do I need to be listening to what my body's telling me? So don't ignore those warning signs. And if you're experiencing problems, go ahead, seek medical attention, call 911 if you want to. But I think that's a great point you made with your cell phones is have your cell phones at the ready so you can get the help you need.
So let's talk a little bit about pre-harvest and planting prevention. Last week in central Iowa, of course, there was a lightning strike, starting bales of hay on fire. And even though the conditions weren't particularly dry this fall, combining fires do happen. What can farmers do to be prepared just in case the unexpected should happen to them?
Well, one thing they can certainly do is make sure they have that fire extinguisher where they're able to grab it. I heard a story from one of our customers last fall who told me that he had a Latham jug that he had water in it, and he actually had to use that to put out a small fire. So, just making sure that you're prepared for those situations that you always think, oh, that'll never happen to me.
Before I let you go for this week, Shannon, anything else you want to bring to the attention of our farmers?
I'd just like to invite your listeners to remember to turn to thefieldposition.com. Every Wednesday, we share crop reports from our 6-state marketing territory. Every Friday,